In talent management, 90% of large corporations today use the 9-box grid. Did you know that 61% of the outcome of the ratings of managers of this 9-box grid is in fact biased? It has been demonstrated by Harvard research. It's called the idiosyncratic rater effect. It's time to tear up this old tool and come with innovative solutions. Let's get into it. So for those who don't know what the 9-box grid is, it's an assessment tool based on two axes, performance and potential, created by McKinsey in the 70s, a pure industrial age product that meant to assess succession planning and top potentials in an organization. Now this is an old tool. It's 50 years old. It was created in a completely different context from today. Why does it persist? The answer is simple. It's because of the ego of the senior executives and probably also because of the lack of alternative. Senior executives are used to this product because it's been there always. It gives them the idea that they actually do a good succession planning management and talent potential management. At the same time, it's fair to say that HR is struggling to find alternatives or credible alternatives because it's a pretty good tool in those days. It's been conceived with a lot of intelligence and it's easy to explain and to use. In fact, there are 5 major objections against this tool. Let me summarize them. The first objection is lack of objectivity. It's highly subjective. If a senior leader says this person is great and has great talent, there is nobody to counter that statement and it becomes a fact. Whereas we know that today it could be massively biased by all sorts of circumstances. The second objection is its lack of credibility. Many HR and senior executives are used to manipulate this tool as a tick-in-the-box exercise. It has to put names in boxes, it makes them feel good, but they perfectly know that the quality of the data there is highly subjective. The third objection has to do with its simplicity. Somewhere, only 2 axes of judgment, performance and potential. It may be okay for the very top roles of an organization, but if you want to do talent management in a broader mode, actually those 2 axes are insufficient to give you qualitative data. The fourth objection has to do with the challenge of the feedback. If you tell someone that he or she is great, you don't need a 9-box grid to tell that. But once you have to explain why the person is not a top talent, it's not with the 9-box grid that you will come up with some consistent and qualitative feedback. So it's a deficient tool from that perspective. And the last objection is that it is very rarely integrated with the rest of the HR ecosystem. Your performance management, competence management, all those specific processes very often live completely independently from your 9-box grid. So now what do we do about it? We see 5 reasons why we should move beyond this historical and old-fashioned tool. The first reason is that this is a typical industrial age product, whereas today performing companies operate significantly differently from the organization models from the 70s and the 80s. The second reason is that we need to move towards a more inclusive talent management approach. We need to look across the generations, go through the 5 generations that are actually operating today in the workspace. You want to actually think that your successors for tomorrow may not be just the direct reports. They could very much be 2 or 3 levels down. So you must have a tool that actually allows you to do at large scale this kind of analysis across your organization, eventually down to the shop floor. The third reason is that talent management needs to move towards a more collaborative, integrated approach. Not just HR and senior executives. You want to have managers involved, you want to get from them and collect from them the quality data that you need on all sorts of dimensions and not just performance and potential. The fourth reason is that the future of talent management will be in data. And with only 2 axes like performance and potential, you don't build qualitative data. So you really need to consider different ways to approach the talent management, including many more dimensions than just those 2 ones. The fifth reason is that we need in HR talent management tools that are much more integrated with the rest of the HR ecosystem. We need the HR business partners to be able to operate these tools, incorporate sources from other tools and processes, and not just rely on a limited 9-box grid. So again, I'm stating the problem, but what is the solution? One of the most impactful sources I could research comes from Deloitte in 2017, in fact, in their Global Human Capital Trends report, in which they identified that HR needs a system thinking approach, incorporating many more dimensions than simply the two ones of the 9-box. They identified 3 critical requirements. The first one, a clear and comprehensive framework to evaluate the talents and competences. But this is not sufficient. It also needs a shared understanding of the whole competence ecosystem across the organization. And again, these 2 dimensions are not sufficient if you don't get simultaneously a clear and continuous access to data supporting the situation of the company. When I came across this research, it actually triggered me to create a model that would meet those different requirements. And this is why we created the People Model Canvas. The People Model Canvas starts with talent management, but it anchors it in a much broader ecosystem where you would find elements such as competence, such as vision and values, such as roles and responsibilities, such as clear identification of levels of expectations, remuneration, resource planning, etc. Bringing those different elements together was one thing, but the second part of the equation is about connecting them all. And for that, we created a common language, checking that every single definition we would use for each of those sub-elements would be consistent with each other, so that there would be no contradiction between competence, performance, potential, and all those definitions that we traditionally use in a sort of free ride mode in the HR world. As we've done that, and we could incorporate this into systems and tools, including artificial intelligence, we managed now to be able to answer the most important and interesting questions that leaders would want to ask, such as who's not in the right role, who has a problem in competence development, who could be one of my talents that I could lose tomorrow that I don't want to lose, who are the people who actually should be put forward that we don't see and we don't recognize sufficiently. These are some examples of the most frequently asked questions that we get from managers from the talent exercise, including, of course, who could be the successor for what role. So as you see, what we tried to do with the People Model Canvas is not particularly throw away the good old practices. The 9-box grid is still there, although in a different form, but it's being complemented with a variety of data points which do significantly increase the quality of the data, the objectivity and the auditability of the information that we would share as part of the talent management exercise or succession planning exercise. For those of you who may see some interest in deep diving into the People Model Canvas, you can watch the other videos on this channel or visit peoplemodelcanvas.com, where you will get lots of interesting insights around the model.